love this country. And it is the greatest experiment in liberty in human history, but the left has contempt for liberty. Look at Twitter and free speech, just as an example. Look at the university and free speech. Free speech is the first thing that the left suppresses. There's been no exception in the history of the left. Liberals love free speech. Conservatives love free speech. But unfortunately, liberals vote for people who do not love free speech. That's why I said of liberals, unlike the left, God forgive them, they know not what they do. That's the truth. So there's a man in the studio right now has 4 daughters. May I mention that? I'm not going to mention your name. I'm not going to mention your name. A lot of people have 4 daughters. I mean, right? Don't we know a lot of people with 4 daughters? Actually, I do know. I do know one spectacular friend of mine has 4 daughters. Wait a minute. No. He has 3 daughters. Yeah, we're going through the days. He has 4 daughters. Yes, exactly. 4 daughters. So, and they're great girls. But we all know people in our lives who voted for the Democrats. Will they one day realize how bad a choice that was? I don't know the answer. It's very hard. There are people who understand that being on the left was a catastrophe. It's called the God that failed, right? The God that failed, Arthur Koestler. People who supported the communists in the 30s and then realized they had devoted their lives to an evil cult. So you say, well, the left is not communist. If you can tell me differences between communism and what AOC believes, I will send you a cigar. I don't know any difference between what the Communist Party USA wants, and essentially the differences are subtle. And what the left wing of the party wants. So they put up a guy without a history of being left wing because he stands for nothing, Joe Biden. He stands for getting elected. He has devoted his life to getting rich and getting elected. That is the entire life of Joe Biden. That is who you voted for. And then you tell me about the character of Trump is somewhat of a joke. It really is. It's a bad joke. Anyway, it is a disaster for the country, but it would have been a bigger disaster had Hillary Clinton won. Not because Hillary Clinton is a bigger crook. She is not a bigger crook than Joe Biden. But because then America was really going to fall over. It was at the precipice. Donald Trump saved this country. And when you think about what he did for the Supreme Court of the United States and what he did for many other courts, and by the way, it is fascinating, is it not? Republicans made gains in the House and will retain the Senate. So you have to decide, do you want to sulk or do you want to fight? That's your choice. Sulking, you could sulk, by the way. There are reasons to sulk. I'm with you. That's why I never said I was optimistic and I never said I was pessimistic. Hugh Hewitt asked me on the Salem show last night, so are you pessimistic or optimistic? I said neither. He was disappointed. He was. I said, have me on your show. I'll tell you why I think both pessimism and optimism are useless. I do. I'll tell you right now why I think that. Then we'll go back to the issue of the moment. I may have mentioned this on the air, but it's worth repeating. Optimism and pessimism both lead people to do nothing. The optimists, many optimists, not every, but most optimists, say, things will turn out fine. And then they go and enjoy life. They don't do anything. They don't fight. The pessimist, things are going to turn out lousy. There's nothing I can do. Both pessimism and optimism lead you to do nothing. My life is devoted to fighting for liberty and America. Not bad, eh? If the guys could die in Normandy Beach to fight for American liberty, I'm not exactly in the situation of facing Nazi machine guns. So I have to live for this fight. They asked me on another show I was on last night about masks. So they asked me about. Oh yeah, so I told them I spoke at the Beverly Hills rally for Donald Trump this past weekend. No mask. 90% of the people had no mask. I took photographs with about 100 people. No, 50 people. I hate exaggerating. 50 people. I hugged about 50 people. No masks, all strangers. I'm a senior citizen. They said, wow, why would you do that? I said, I'll tell you why. The purpose of life is not to live. The purpose of life is to live fully. You know who has a purpose? You know for whom the purpose of life is to live? An animal. An animal has one purpose, live. The human being has infinite number of purposes. Live good, live fully, live deeply, live wholly. But in the secular world, living is it. That's it. That's why we have the religion of safetyism. Is it safe? Better safe than sorry. Really? Better safe and ruining the livelihoods of tens of millions of people? You know what it is to ruin a livelihood? You don't if you're for lockdowns. Joe Biden doesn't have a clue what it is like not to make a fortune of money. He is as estranged from the middle class of this country as anyone in American political history. His Scranton roots. Oh, please. Donald Trump has far more empathy for the guy who loses his job than any Democrat in office. I don't mean any Democrat who votes. I wonder how many people. It would be fascinating. You know, they say Americans, 3/4 of Americans support a lockdown. Did you see that? Is that true? Let's take a look if that, anyway, folks. If I quote a poll in the next 4 years, you need to call me up and correct me. You know, voodoo is as effective as polling. But they were all wrong, and they will still make no difference. Next 4 years, they will repeat the same thing, and people will quote them constantly. Polls tell us that. Polls tell us that. I was going to ask, do the people who have lost their jobs, are they pro-lockdown? Overwhelmingly, people who can work at home are for lockdowns because they don't give a damn about the people who can't work at home. Selfishness has another name, not a new name, another name called progressivism. Progressivism and self-centeredness are synonymous. Not their self-image. Their self-image is that they're great people.